get a piece of paper, if you would. I'm going to take you through as if you were going to plan your own masterclass. And even if you're not right now, that's okay. I'm just going to have you as if you were doing it. All right. Slideshow from the beginning. All right. Let me move this over here for a second, Mondo. All right. Again, for him, how do we do this? 5 steps to rock a masterclass for him, right? Here's the 5 pieces that I feel are really important. And you may have others that you want to add in, but these are the 5 things. I've done several and done in different ways. I'm actually going to torture you with a little bit of excerpts from a couple of mine. Hopefully you can see what not to do. That will help you from making costly mistakes. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is purpose, then determine outcomes, decide your format, create your content, and then do the registration and follow-up system. Okay, but we're going to go through each individual step, so no worries. All right. Where can I put us so that's not in the way? I'm going to put you down here. All right, first thing, purpose. Determine the purpose of your masterclass. Even before the title, what's the purpose? Make sure you go to the Lord, make it spirit-led theme. Make sure it's something that leads back to your one big message and leads to your one big thing. So you may have a lot of really great ideas, and I always have what I think are really great ideas, and it doesn't necessarily mean that it directly leads back to my one big message and my one big thing. But if you're doing a masterclass, you're using it as a building tool. You're helping them to be able to, you've done your staircase where you have your social media, you've chatted with them, you've connected with them, you've done an opt-in, maybe you've done a little download that they've gotten and they've done 3 steps to, or they've done a meditation. Now you're stepping it up. Now you're qualifying more people that really want more of what you have. You're preparing, remember from the retreat, you're preparing your clients. You're preparing them for what you really want to teach them. And it's a preparatory work that you're doing now. So think, what is the preparatory purpose in this masterclass? Then that will make it easier for you to know what it is you want to teach them, what things you want to give them. It's a Costco sample. Do not make this mistake I did. And I think I did one that was an hour and 15 minutes. Was it, Lemire, an hour and a half? It was horrendously long. All I can say is, I don't think there was a person alive, not even awake, but alive at the end. In our day and age, I invite you, we'll talk about format, but I invite you to keep it short, down and dirty, 30 minutes, just 30 minutes. That's, if it's a Costco sample, do that. There used to be the webinar format. You do it in an hour, hour and 15 minutes, hour and a half, and you take them through all the stacking and all this blah, blah, blah. Disciple Thought Leader, we do not do that. So just get the purpose, okay? And think about, brainstorm a couple and then see and pray about what feels right. Then outcomes. That is the next most important thing. Whatever your purpose is, what are the outcomes? What are the takeaways? Is that a download you're going to give them? We love, like in our purpose-filled challenge, we love to give them a packet so that they have something they're doing every day for 5 days, because it's a challenge. And we're going to teach you about challenges, so you, just so you know, in case you want to do one in January or February. But in the challenge, we have 5 days of videos, short videos, and then 1 download a day, but it comes in a packet. It's nice to give them a masterclass download. People love that. I love that. If I can't make it or I put the settings on high, I like to have the download. So what would the download look like? I encourage you to not make the download too complicated. You want them, or too self-explanatory. You want them to hear and connect with you. That's the point of doing a masterclass. Otherwise, you just offer a download. So don't make it too self-explanatory. Have blanks that they can fill in. Have some like number 3 and then have a question, or you could just have number 3 and have a line, and that's the question you're going to ask them in the masterclass. It doesn't mean that you're being, you know, obsequious, yeah, whatever. It means that you're not trying to be like, you know, like, oh, I'm not going to share anything with you. Not at all. You just want to encourage them to be able to connect with you and to really hear and connect and do the work, instead of just printing off a download and saying, oh yeah, I can get that, I'll just read it later. The next thing is format. If you have questions, go ahead and put it in chat and I'll check the chat. Sorry if I'm not checking. Oh, that's great. That's Lemire. Format. I encourage you to do Zoom. We've done Vimeo, Camtasia. We've done a variety of things. Zoom is easy. It's easy for people to register. It's easy for people to use. They're not intimidated by it. They don't get stressed about it. There's no funky things on there. So Zoom is easy, super easy. Now, if you have the free Zoom, you know that after about 40 minutes, it stops. So that's a good thing to keep you on your timer to make sure you just keep it to finish at 30 minutes, right? Including any Q&A that you want to have at the end. You can decide, S&D means stand and deliver. So you decide the way you want to do this. So right now, this is called talking head, and I'm just talking at you, right? And that's like stand and deliver. You can literally stand and deliver, like my desk raises up so I can stand. And they do say it's better for you to stand when you're doing any kind of a presentation or whatever. I get that, but Zoom and COVID have kind of changed that where a lot of people sit. And so it's totally fine either way. But standing does give you a lot more energy and it does look more speakerish. So just be aware. Stand and deliver just means that you're just going to be speaking. You're just going to be sharing. You're just going to be doing just like this. Or you can do slides. You can just do this like I'm doing right here and just do slides and you just pop on and then you just go right to your slides. Or you can do a hybrid. You can speak to them and then you just use a few slides, like maybe 6 to 8 slides, and they just have a quote or they have a picture that is show don't tell, which means you're telling the concept just like Jackie did beautifully with that family and with the signs and the things that were written on the side of that wall. That was just beautifully show don't tell, because you know exactly what she is saying about that. So she could just pop up a few key slides. So then you would pop it back to you. So then you would just go, okay, stop share. And then you would just come back to you. And then when you're ready to go back, you would just go back to share screen and you would go back to where you were, which takes a little time, but you would just get really good at being able to go back and forth. And people understand that as long as you're not spending like a minute trying to get back on. So you decide which one you want to do. So let's take a minute. Let's go back. If you didn't write down outcomes that you knew, because those should be pretty easy from your one big message. It should be those outcomes that you have in your one big message. But it may be that you're choosing one of the outcomes from your one big message, and then you want to go deeper with that. So you can choose if you want to give them sort of a Costco sample of your 3 main outcomes, and you just give them a little taste. Or you could take one of those outcomes and go a little deeper. Or you could take those outcomes and you can do one that you touch on and then build and build. So you can build the next one to the next outcome to the next outcome. You get to choose what that looks like. But just take a minute and just write down what would be 1 to 3 outcomes that you would want to give them, and what would the takeaway look like? What would it look like in their life? If you're talking about, we need you to be still so that you can know who you are and what God wants you to do. Well, maybe the takeaway is a mantra, an affirmation, a meditation. It's something that is a takeaway. Now, a bonus on that is, say you have something like that and you say, you know what? And if you want my free meditation download, here's the link, and you can put it in the chat. Because if people come, then you're rewarding them with an extra bonus for sitting down and taking the time to watch this. So you can put that link in the chat and you can say, go get my free download for the meditation. Does that make sense? And right now, go ahead and choose, okay, format. I think Zoom would be good. Yeah, it sounds easy. And then what format do you want to speak in? Do you want to do slides? Do you want to just stand and deliver like this? Do you want to do a hybrid? Angela did a great job with her masterclass of being able to welcome and connect. And then she went to the slides, but she spoke really soothingly, smoothly. She was able to, and she asked some questions in between. So even though there was a lot of pictures and slides, she still stayed connected in her conversation. Any questions on that? Lemire, if you see someone and I'm not seeing them, you let me know.
Oh, can I share this real quick?
Yes, please.
And you can choose whether you want it to be like a masterclass where it's interactive, like Angela would ask people to answer questions, or you can do something where it's more of a webinar format where you just see you and you don't see everybody else, right? And you're doing more of a teaching, like lecture format, kind of like she's saying, but you decide how interactive you want it to be for you.
I love that. And that would be more of what kind of personality and what kind of feel you have with what you're doing. If it lends itself to that interactive, I love that Angela made it interactive. Otherwise, people could just kind of tune out, right? So anytime you can ask questions or relate it back to them or get stuff on the chat, that's the beauty of a masterclass versus a webinar where you really do get a lot more interaction. And I think that's beautiful. Anytime you can get that, you're not guessing what they're thinking. You're able to just see what they're thinking and you can figure it out right there because they're sharing it with you. I was thinking of doing the presentation, then a Q&A. Yes, absolutely. That's more on content, but we can go ahead and say that now. Let me go to the next one. Why is it not going? There we go. Content, 3 points, takeaways, stories, quotes, stats, and spiritual delivery. So let's go back to the Q&A. If you do 3 points, I would so recommend doing that. Either one main point and you pull 3 things from it, right? So if you're going to talk about meditation, then 3 ways to make that happen or whatever. I really recommend just doing the Costco sample because you're going to lead them, and we're going to talk about that in a second. Where are you going to lead them, right? So you want to lead them to more, not just so you can try to get them hooked on or whatever. I hate that. No, because you have your one big thing up here and you want to prepare them for that. You want to know, do you want more? Oh, do you want more? Do you want more? And if they do, they're saying yes, yes, yes. So by the time they get to the one big thing, there isn't any nail biting. You're like, I know that this is something you want because I have given you more breadcrumbs, and you love what we're doing. So I would definitely, after the 3 points, I would definitely do a Q&A. And you can do your Q&A as you go along. If you want to do it after each section, if you're more comfortable with that, say, we got time, 2 minutes for any questions on this section. And then let them ask their questions and things like that. And then, okay, let's move on to the next section. And then you could also add on a final Q&A at the end. And that's always a great thing to do. But you could do it along the way. You could save it for the end. Or again, you could do a hybrid of both. And I love doing any of those. I personally like to ask questions along the way. I think it keeps people more engaged and they're more likely to get to know you better. And you're more likely to have inspiration in the moment because they're asking a question and you're able to answer it. And you're creating credibility. People want to know if you know your stuff. And when there's a spontaneous question and you got a great answer, they start to feel like I can trust her. She knows what she's talking about. So that's a really good thing to do. So don't be afraid of that. If this is your zone of genius, you have so much learning inside you already that you're not even aware of. So don't worry about that. You will have that. And if you don't know the answer, say, you know what? I'll find that out and I'll post it on my Facebook group. Make sure and join my Facebook group so you can get that. On the content, stories. They are king. So as you look through those 3 points, I invite you right now, I'm going to give you 1 minute. Think of a story, just like the mini keynote that we've done at the retreat. Think of a story that could go next to that particular point. Don't go crazy. Just write down one that comes to mind really quick. Okay, go. Any 3 points that you think would be good in a masterclass, just write down a story that could go alongside it. An experience that you've had, experience someone else had. And yes, you can also put either there's that great quote from conference on this, or, I was reading about the stat in that article. You could absolutely put that little note to the side, but stories, they're king. Keep writing. And just so you know, what you're doing on this masterclass can also be utilized for posts. It can be utilized for a newsletter. It can be utilized in any way you want. So if you're like, I'm not doing a masterclass soon, utilize this for your newsletter or something else, or a Facebook Live. And then the last thing, I'm just being really aware of time because I know we want to do coaching after this, but the last thing on this is spiritual delivery. Okay, your energy, your enthusiasm, your love for what you teach. This should go right through the screen and people should feel the love you have for what you're teaching. If you're talking like this and you're saying, yeah, and then you go to the next slide, it's not going to work. It has to be a kind of masterclass, and the points you're sharing should make you want to jump out of your skin and share it with them and plead with them to put it into their lives. I don't think that you guys have any question about how passionate I feel about what I talk about. Just thinking. I think I may overwhelm you just slightly, but the err on the side of energy. There's so many times that people think, I was totally energetic. In podcast interview, this happens all the time. They think they're being totally energetic. And they're not. They're just talking like this, like they're all kind of nervous and whatever. So energy, don't feel like you've got to be like salesman-y, not at all, but just energy and passion and do your hands. Don't worry about that. And talk to them just like you're excited talking to a neighbor. So energy and spiritual delivery. Pray, have the spirit with you. Make sure that when you're sharing stuff, you're sharing quotes that the spirit can testify truth of. We are disciple thought leaders. Pull out conference talk quotes. Put those in there. It doesn't matter what audience you're talking to. They're not going to know who Ronald A. Rasband is. It's fine. but the spirit can testify of the truth. That's what matters. That's what will make it different. That's that unique fingerprint. And then lastly, registration and follow-up. Where does it lead? It's great to do a masterclass, but don't do it if you don't have a place to lead them, okay? Lead them back to join your community. Lead them back to joining your newsletter. Lead them back to an online course. Lead them back to, I have a retreat and I'd love for you to make a call and talk to me about if this is a fit for you. Do not put retreat pricing. Do not sell them anything. Just give them a call. Give them an opportunity to connect with you even more. And I would highly recommend you do something that either creates a download or a sample course thing, or if you are going to sell a course, that it's a cheap $49 kind of an entrance one-time thing that they can check it out, see what they think, and just make it so that it's a really easy fit. People are going to have their backs up thinking she's going to sell me something. So it's great to have a free masterclass and say, if you want more, check it out on my website. Or if you want more, I've got this free, I've got this online course and you can do the first module free and see if you like it. That's a beautiful way to connect with them so that they can let down and be like, I can actually listen to what you're saying instead of being worried that you're going to try to sell me on something. And then create your landing page, your nurturing emails, and nurture those people that have attended. They are people who have taken time out of their day to come and be with you. That 30 minutes, that's huge. In our day and age, that's huge. So nurture them. And Lamira can help you with email nurturing sequences. You don't need to do a lot. 3 emails, follow up, and just say, so grateful you came on. And then here's the recording. Have you thought, are you feeling a rumble to do something more with this? Have this, or this, whatever you want to do, but have those nurture emails. Don't need to be long at all. Shorter is better, lots of white space, and just follow up and let them know you care about them because they did take that time, and be yourself in sharing that with them. Thank you so much. That meant a lot to me. All right, any thoughts on that? Oops. So just for review, purpose, outcomes, format, content, and then registration and follow-up. And you will be solid. Okay, any final questions? Excuse me. We're using it again. Is it better to just have the presentation, or is it good to have questions that others have along the way? Excuse me. You could totally go both ways there. Personally, anybody else want to weigh in? Personally, I love hearing other people's questions, and I love seeing real people because they usually ask the question that I have and it gets answered. But you could do it either way, and it still can be evergreen. The only concern that you might have is at the very beginning, let them know this is recorded and it will be evergreen and other people will be watching this. So that will help them to know if they want to share a question or not. Lamira, you want to take that question from Wendy Christensen?
Yeah. So yeah, if you want to reuse it, that's why one-time energy, right? So you can decide how you want to do this. And there are a few different ways that you can do it to download to websites. If you have a website, you can do a landing page where people can register for it and you have it automated. That's why if you set it up on the back end the first time, then you can go back in after you've done it live and set it up to be something that they can get just by you giving them a link to register for it and get it. So that's where different things are. If you have a website or if you have a member vault, that kind of thing, or you have a place where you've uploaded it to, and I'm going to do a Loom recording of different places you can do this to, so we don't get all techie in here, but there are a few different platforms that you can upload it to that you can keep running it. So that way, if you're like, I don't really want to set up a whole member vault because I'm not going to do a whole bunch of courses, but I do want to be able to have a place where they can go watch it and I can see the stats. There are places you can do that besides YouTube. So we have a couple options for you there that are simple and easy. We have one that Connie has that I went back, I'm like, oh, here's the original link for this. And it's free with like 1 masterclass or 2, right? That you could go and put there. So that way you could just have it's an opt-in, and if you want it to be paid. So yeah, I would definitely keep it. That's why Zoom is beautiful, because you can record it in Zoom and then you can go back, and I'm big on making sure you ask people what they got out of it, what they enjoyed of your masterclass. Connie's very good at that, because then Zoom will save your chat And guess what? When you go watch it, you can go take those out as testimonials to put on your landing page when you're ready to reuse this over and over again. So those are some thoughts. I hope that answers that.
So beautiful. I'm going to very quickly show you just a couple of examples from 2 different master classes that we've done. And then I'd love to have Angela just share any last thoughts that she's had on doing hers. And that would be so great. So I'm going to share a screen with this one. Nobody gag. Okay. Let me scoot this down. So this was one of the first ones that I ever did. Okay, can we just say too much orange? Yes, absolutely. So this one, I had this pattern that someone had taught me and said, start off with who is this for? Who is it not for? Introduce myself, and then saying here, what about your life? What the pain points? And then this is what you're going to get a gift for listening. And then here's some of the outcomes that you're going to get. And then what keeps you from being all in with your life, and then what's the real problem, and kind of, it's 10 minutes before we actually get into this stuff. It's too long. So you just hit the high points at the beginning of what are the pain points and what are the things you're going to do to help them, and then get into it. So then I go through all the different things. I had pictures and slides, and it's just going to keep talking. So I'm just going to do it this way. Can you guys see it well enough that you're just getting the idea of what I'm doing? Yes, no?
We can see it a little bit because we just see the little thing on the bottom.
I
We
just
can't
hate
hear
to have
it.
me talking where it's like, okay. Oh. Anyway, sorry. It pulled up bigger when I was doing it on my own, but I must have just pulled it up to watch it. So I did do, after each section, I did a testimonial. That's what the testimonial is right there of different people. And then I go to the next section, and then I would do what the pain point was, what the tool I was teaching, and then another testimonial. And then at the end, I would say, now where do you want to go? And then at the end, I said, schedule your appointment. So I offered an appointment if they wanted to talk more about what we were doing, because at the time I was doing a program that was a 12-week program. So there was that. And that was just talking head, sit and deliver. And then I would do the slides. And I did mostly talking. I didn't really ask them any questions. This was just me deliver, just talking head, stand and deliver. And a lot of orange, really not the best plan. Okay, and then hang on, let me share screen with this one. Okay, this one was become your true self. And I'll play the beginning just for a second so you can see the difference.
We can't hear it, Connie. I don't know if anybody else can, but we couldn't hear it on the other one.
Okay, sorry, I thought you could. Okay, so I introduced the title of the webinar, 4 Keys to Become Your True Self. And then I talk about, oh, it's been so nice to meet people and where you're all from across the United States. Thanks so much for sharing. And please feel free to put in your thoughts and comments and questions. So this one was much more interactive. I had questions and thoughts and things like that. Then I went on to the points. I did a lot of quotes. And then I would tell stories about those. And then I made comments on what people were sharing. There's the third habit, and then I did the 4th habit. And then at the end, I did, here's things you could choose from. It's our 3 mini course bundle, and they could just click on the link if they wanted it. And then I wrapped up with what they learned again. And then I invited them, if they had any questions, to contact me, and again, offered if there was a free call. And told them where they could find me and other things that I was offering to do. This one had a little bit more casual feel, more relaxed, more chatty, and that kind of thing. So it was a little bit different than that first one that was more official and kind of felt a little more salesy and that kind of thing. Does that make sense? So you can either just talking head, or you can be more like chill, relaxed, conversational, but you can still use them both for evergreen. Yeah, and it went from about an hour to 30 minutes. You get better as you do. Just saying. And now we've life hacked it for you, because now you know how to do as a disciple thought leader. You don't start with all that 10-minute introduction. You just start right in and connect. I would invite you to start with a connecting story or experience so that you really can let them know, this is why I decided to do this, and go back to your origin story and maybe start with a little bit from that, some connecting story to help them feel it. Don't start right into point number 1. You know that from what we do with the keynote. Start with a hook and something connecting. And then you can start talking about with the pain points and things like that. And it's ideal if your origin story is the pain points you're dealing with. And you're like, you know what? The reason why I did this webinar is because I was dealing this, and this. And you notice at the beginning when Lamira said, anybody else been feeling pushback? Anyone else feel that? And all these hands raised. Well, now they're invested in what she's saying because, wow, she's been going through that too. So think about it in those kinds of ways. Angela, did you want to share anything that you learned from doing your masterclass? And then we'll go ahead and do coaching.
Okay, so I went into this with no really experience in how to do a masterclass on Zoom. So I was doing a number of things first time. I've used PowerPoint before, but it's been years since I've used it. So I was brand new with PowerPoint. I was brand new with Zoom. I just did my whole brand new account. So there were so many pieces that I didn't really know what I was doing. As I looked back on it, I can see that it would have been really good. What I didn't know how to do was how to use I didn't know if I should have the people on the side. I didn't know if I should have just the screen that I was sharing. So it was a little confusing for me to know how was the best way to interact. I really wanted it to be interactive and wanted it. And as I was trying to do it, it was really not easy for me to follow on the chat. It's hard for me here to follow on the chat and pay attention to what people are saying. So I found that it was really hard for me to be able to answer questions on the chat. It was way better for me to have people just ask the question so that we could talk and other people may have the similar questions. So there's a number of things. This format layout that you talked about today is so much more helpful because I didn't start with asking a question. I think that would have been really helpful. I feel like I did share some stories, but I think if I initially would have started with, some questions, I just kind of jumped right into what it was. So I learned that there's a number of things that I need to do differently. And it gives me some ideas of how do I want to really lay mine out, doing what pieces do I want to do when. So I think part of it is just like Lamira said earlier, once you do it, then you see, oh, okay, this works better for me. And then you try on your next time to do it a little bit differently than you did it before. And you have a little more experience with the different technology pieces that you're using. So there's so many pieces that I don't know about yet, but I feel like as we do it, it'll get better.
And I just want raise your hand if you think hers was great. Yeah, like Angela, you can evergreen that. It was so good for your first one, like so good. So I went into it thinking I was going to do a masterclass and this was going to be the one, right? And I learned really quickly it was not going to be the one. But it wasn't meaning that I couldn't use it. We've used those masterclasses. We've sent them out and people have liked them. So just so you know, don't worry about that. Get it out and get it in the doing and you'll improve on the next one and on the next one. And then eventually you'll take that one out and that'll be the first one. And then the next one and you'll take that one out. That's how it works. So what I would suggest is do it. Just do it. Follow this little outline. Don't make it more complicated than it needs to be. You're basically doing this for 30 minutes and teaching them tools and tips that you want to give them and engaging with them and encouraging them to connect with you. So don't make it more than what it is. And the best thing you can do is resonate with them. Because if you're just talking training and talking teaching, they'll tune out. It's resonating. This is your opportunity to basically invite them into your living room, into your office, and to say, I want you to know me and I want to know you. So make it that kind of an experience. Make it enjoyable and don't worry so much about all the details that you think are going to matter the most, because they won't. It's having people over for dinner and what they remember is how much fun they had and what great conversation they had. It was their laundry inside the front door, right?